Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday episode of the Daily Betslip. It is myself. It is Donnavan Smoot. We are getting ready for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. That is, of course, our game of the night. I tried to rally to see if I could make it like the Cardinals and the Cubs. Unfortunately, I got vetoed on that one, so game of the night will be Game 1 of the NBA Finals, I guess. But as always, we're going to talk bad beat of the day, best bets, including community picks. We're going to talk some NBA Finals MVP odds. And then, of course, we're going to dive into the Celtics and Warriors and give our best bets for that as well. Donnavan, good to have you on. Are you excited for tonight?
I'm super excited. I think that this is one of the most excited I've been for finals in about 5 or 6 years. Like I think 2016 might have been the last time that I was like, oh wow, like we're like getting this matchup. So I'm ready. I've listened to all the podcasts, watched all the highlights. Like I'm ready. I'm ready for game one.
All right. So yeah, game 1 is tonight. Am I going to watch game 1? I don't know.
Maybe you are notoriously branded hashtag not an NBA guy.
Right.
So like it wouldn't shock me if you did it. But tune in the second half.
I will be watching games in the series. I always watch a little bit of the finals, but I mean, Avalanche and Oilers are tonight too, so that's going to probably take my attention for at least a portion of the night. Maybe I'll double screen it tonight. But let's start off with, of course, by the way, if you're watching on Twitter, you can head over to YouTube, live comment if you have any picks for tonight. If you have any questions for any of our picks tonight, let us know, and we can discuss those during the show. But we start off with little bad beat of the night. Last night in Major League Baseball, Astros against the A's. I was not on this, Donnavan. I don't believe you were on this as well. But if you were on the under, that was a tough one to lose. Under 7.5. Heading into the 7th inning, there was 1 run. At the end of the 7th inning, there was 4 runs. So you're still feeling pretty good about the under 7.5. Is 3-1 A's at the end of the 7th inning. End of the 8th inning, it was 3-1 A's. You're probably starting to count the money. You might have even spent it. And then 5 total runs in the 9th inning, including the Astros scoring 4 in the top of the 9th. Killed your under 7.5. So brutal beat. That's baseball for you, though. Those last inning rallies, unfortunately, I feel like I have literally never once in my life been on the right side of a 9th inning rally when it comes to a total bet. And if you're on the over, pretty good beat for you last night. But if you're on the under, that's brutal. I saw a few people on Twitter were on the under last night. So that is our bad beat for tonight. Hopefully nobody experiences a bad beat tonight.
100%. That one had to be really, really tough because it wasn't so like the Astros they had a base clearing triple, but right before that, somebody got walked into a run, and so it just has to be worse because you're seeing like one by one, just like losing in slow agony has to be terrible. And so I think if I was on the wrong side of a baseball total, and especially like a 9th inning rally, that one has to be. I would put that towards the top of the list of like bad beats. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that.
Yes.
It's at the end of a football game where they're doing, the hook and ladder play and a touchdown gets scored. Like that's where a 9th inning rally has to be on your list.
Danny Jimenez is the pitcher for the A's who screwed over underbettors last night. So Jimenez. I apologize.
Gotta stand up for my Hispanic people.
Yeah, that's my Canadian showing. Unfortunately, I did not get Spanish classes growing up. I got French classes instead. So any French names come up, I'll be able to pronounce them for you. Hispanic names, though, not my strength. Let's get into some best bets for tonight, though. Enough about last night. Let's talk about tonight. We're going to start with some Twitter best bets. We tweeted out today looking for your best bets for tonight. And I believe we have 4 submissions, so let's go ahead and dive into those. Let's bring up the first one. This is from the Degenerate at the Degen Weekly. He says, Celtics money line, my man. Everyone is all over the Warriors. 9-0 in their last game, in their last 9 game ones at home. And most importantly, they are rested. Public loves playing rest rather than rust. Celtics had 2 tough series that went to game 7. Nobody wants them. Gimme. So I guess he's saying he's fading Rust instead of Rest, I guess. He likes that the Celtics have played sooner than the Warriors have.
Yeah. So he's fading the Rest and saying that the
Right.
Warriors are going to be rusty. And I mean it's always a really interesting thing to think about which teams like need rest, which teams like are going to be rusty coming out. And I think that if your team is old or on the older side, like the Warriors, you just instantly go to rest, right? But then I think if you have like a younger team that was actually playing kind of well in a groove, like if the Grizzlies were in this spot, I think people would say, oh, the Grizzlies are going to come out, they're going to be rusty in game one. So it honestly just depends on like the age of the group in terms of like rest versus rust.
Yeah, that's why I kind of don't put any stock into either rust or rest personally, because in any of those kind of arguments that are just kind of like subjective, like you're assuming how teams are going to feel, there's always the opposite argument. Like same thing if like a team's in like a must-win game, and you're like, oh, they're going to win because it's a must-win game for them and they're going to be extra motivated. Well, maybe they're nervous because it's a must-win game. Like you can always do the opposite argument with all these. I will say for the rest versus rust debate, if you're on the like fading, for the Lightning and Rangers last night, the Lightning were coming off a huge rest because they swept the Panthers and they lost game one. So from the DGen Weekly, his logic worked last night. If you use that logic in the Lightning Rangers game, we'll see if it will work for the Celtics and Warriors tonight. But I don't want to give our opinion on that game too much right now because obviously we are going to talk about that quite a bit later on in the show. But he is on Celtics money line, so keep that in mind. He's not even taking the 3.5 points. He's just going to go ahead and take the Celtics to win outright. Let's see the second Twitter community pick. Pascal Roachon at Roach22PR. Landeskog AST plus 125. I'm assuming it should be ATS, which would be anytime score, or I guess any score. I don't know. But I'm guessing that's for Landeskog to score would be my guess. Gabriel Landeskog of the Avalanche. Yeah, I like that pick. Any props you're going to take that are goal-scoring props or overs, probably a pretty good time to play tonight. I wrote in my best bets for today article, Connor McDavid to score. I saw him at even money, I believe, that you can get Connor McDavid to score. He's not going to go down lightly. This is a team that Connor McDavid, anytime that kind of the Oilers have been in danger, he's come out hot. He scored 2 huge goals in 2 huge elimination games in the first 2 series. He's not going to go down without a fight. So goal scoring props, probably pretty good bet to place in this series because we're going to see a ton of goals. Yeah. Any thoughts on Gabriel Landeskog, Donnavan?
Absolutely not. I just have a question. I just have a question. Have you ever seen a series this wide open? Like you look at the total from game one, and it's like it's 8-6, it's 14 goals. Like this can't be common to see a series that's going to be this wide open.
Not that I can remember. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more when I get to my best bets, but short answer, not in my memory, at least not in my betting career, have I seen 2 styles match up and play such offensive styles. But also don't forget, and I'm going to contradict my own point here, but these 2 teams played 3 times, I think, and all 3 times this season it was later on in the year, and one of their games finished like 2-1. So it is possible that these 2 teams will have a low scoring game, but I wouldn't bet on it. But I hope every single game in the series ends up like game 1 did, because that was fun to watch. Let's get into. You sure you don't have any thoughts on Gabriel Landeskog?
I'm sure. I'm right. Very sure.
All right, let's bring up the next pick. Marshall Messina, Giants plus paper versus Alcantara. I will have thoughts on this when we get to my best bets, but I saw 2 people. Johnny from Fox Sports Radio Philadelphia, who I did a spot with him last night. He tweeted at me saying he was also on that pick. So people love the Giants plus money right now. Alex Wood is taking on Sandy Alcantara in Miami. I'm not going to dive into this pick too much right now because that game involves one of my best bets, so I'll talk about it then. Donnavan, do you have any thoughts about this matchup at all?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the Giants plus money here. I mean, you if you look at Alcantara's last 3 games, he had 14 strikeouts, 7 strikeouts, 5 strikeouts, and on top of that, he's going deep into these starts. Right, 8 innings pitched, 9 innings pitched, 8 innings pitched in his last three. He's been an absolute ace for Miami. So I don't know if San Francisco is going to be able to get the hits necessary to create some offense. So I'm not too much of a fan of this one, and I think I would back Alcantara and the Marlins tonight.
By the way, shout out Lou Gehrig. It is Lou Gehrig Day. But yeah, Marlins 20-28. But I'll get into that when I get on my best bet. I don't think that record is a true indication of how good this team is. But I'll talk about that here in just a couple minutes. I believe we have one more community pick for tonight. Cody Wells. Cody Wells is always good for a pick. Now, one of these, Jonathan Schoop, the Tigers game has already started and may have finished. Did Jonathan Schoop hit a home run? I don't know. I'm going to look it up. But the other one is for tonight, Paul Goldschmidt, over 1.5 total bases, plus 105. I love these ones that always have a little bit of a breakdown for the pick as well. Makes our job a little bit easier. He says Goldschmidt has a 22 XBH during his 23-game hitting streak and is batting north of 400 during this stretch. So if anytime you can bet on a guy who's batting north of 400 during a span for him to get over 1.5 total bases at plus money, I will not be arguing against that pick, Cody. That is for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way. 22 extra base hits out of 23 is ridiculous. And did you see if Shoop hit a home run?
He did not hit a home run.
That's tough. That's really tough.
But I mean, home run props. I mean, they're a dart anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, it's plus 475. I'm not going to trash a guy for taking a dart on a plus 475 pick, but he did not hit a home run. The Tigers did win though, 3-2.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, the Goldschmidt pick, I like it. I like it a lot. And as you said, Cody's always good for a pick.
And he always gives, like I said, little breakdowns, which I love, of course. All right, let's get into our best bets, Donnavan. I have one in the NHL. I have two in Major League Baseball. I'll start with the NHL pick, of course. This is an obvious one. I am taking Oilers Avalanche over 7. For anyone I haven't seen a single person betting on the under in this game, and if someone is betting on the under, they are a brave soul. I can't do it. There was 14 total goals scored in game 1, and if you look at it and you say, oh, okay, well, that's just because the goaltenders played bad. Actually not true. Now, they did play bad, and that did definitely contribute to it, but if you look at expected goals in this game, that advanced analytic that you can look at for hockey, the combined expected goals was 8.54. So even if there was average goaltending play, there still would have been 8.5. I mean, obviously you can't score half a goal, but the expected goals was 8.5. So teams are just playing literally no defense. Even Wayne Gretzky, the great one, said in the broadcast after the game, he was just like, guys, you have to play defense, because they did not. A combined 37 high danger scoring chances in the game. To put that in perspective, the best offensive team in the regular season averaged around 14.5 per game. So these two teams combined for more than I think one had 18 and one had 19 high danger scoring chances. So they both averaged more, or got more than the team that averaged the most, which is the Panthers in the regular season. Just wide open hockey. Unless these two teams completely change up their style of play in game 2, we're going to see a ton of goals again tonight. And the Avalanche are going with their backup goalie tonight. Kemper is out. I forget the guy's name, Francois something. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. But of course, he's in net, and Mike Smith will be in net for the Oilers, and Mike Smith is always good for a couple of stinkers. So over 7. We might see, if we see another high-scoring game tonight, we might see the total creep all the way up to 8 before the end of the series. So if you like goals, watch this game, bet on the over, and just root for some goals.
Listen. I think the fact that and we've been talking all day about whether it's going to get moved to 7.5, and a bunch of other places have moved it up to 7.5. Do you think I think you said that the only way that you're taking the under in this series is if the total gets moved up to 10.
Yeah.
There's no way it gets up to 10 in this series. No way.
No, the highest it'll ever be is 8. And I don't think it'll get to 8 because that's just such a high number. Like, I don't think sports books are brave enough to get up to that number. No, we'll never see 9 or 10. 8 would be the absolute highest they'd ever said of that. We'll see, though. We'll see what happens. All right, I'll quickly give out my 2 Major League Baseball picks. The first one is a game that we already touched on here, the Marlins and the Giants. I'm going to take the Marlins here, minus 138 in this one. I do not agree with the people who are on the Giants. I think we're going to see some positive regression from the Marlins because they are dead last in Major League Baseball right now in close game win percentage. So they're 20 and 28, but usually, or a lot of their wins have been close games, and usually you see some regression to the mean with these teams that are losing close games as the season goes on. So I think we're going to see the record even out a little bit closer to where it should be. And obviously, Sandy Alcantara has been fantastic for them this season. 2.00 ERA, has only allowed more than 2 runs in 1 start all season. And I have concerns about the Giants' bullpen. That was a big reason for their success last year when they went on that surprise run in the regular season. They had the best bullpen, if not the best, the second best bullpen in Major League Baseball. This year, they're all the way down at 27th in bullpen ERA at 4.5. So that's a big red flag for me for the Giants. I'll take the Marlins minus 138 tonight. Donnavan, based on what you said earlier, you like that pick?
Yeah, listen. You and I, we're on the same page here, and you go and you cite all the stats for Sandy, and listen, that's really what I'm banking on. And honestly, this season I've bet on Alcantara's strikeout props a lot, and he's come in very, very handy for me. So I am, he has a loyal fan with me, and so I'm backing Miami tonight.
Love it. And then I'm going to go for my last pick. I'm going to go a slight underdog. I'm going to take the Cubs minus 103, I believe, against the Cardinals. The time that you want to bet on the Cardinals is when they're facing left-handed pitchers because they are the best team in Major League Baseball in OPS against lefties. Not facing a lefty tonight, and they're all the way down at 17th in OPS against righties, and they're taking on a pretty good righty as well. Keegan Thompson is a 1.58 ERA. He was a reliever at the start of the year. He has switched to his starting role, and he's done pretty well. I think he has 3 starts so far this season, and he's looked pretty good. So I'm going to trust Keegan Thompson. I have been betting on the Cardinals recently when they face lefties, but they're not facing a lefty tonight. Cubs are facing a lefty, and Matthew Liberatore is possibly how I pronounce his last name. 13th in OPS against lefties. Not fantastic, but much better offensive numbers than how they do against righties. So we're able to take a home team as slight underdogs in a matchup where I think they match up well. So I'm going to take that. Cubs minus 103 against the Cardinals for my third and final best bet of the night.
Yeah, that's good. And the Cubs, even though so over the last 6 games, they're 3-3, they're kind of average, but on against the run line, they're 5-6 or they're 5-1 against the run line in their last 6 games. And so I think if you have a chance, like you said, to take them as slight underdogs and kind of eliminate all the juice that you would get from taking them as that run line underdog, it's a really good chance to get it. So, I'll roll with you on Chi-Town tonight too.
Love it. All right, let's talk NBA, my friend. Game 1 tonight, obviously. You got a lot of picks locked in for it because you're going to have 3 NBA picks for the game tonight, and I believe they are all prop bets. And then later on in the show, you're going to give your best bet on the side. So let's hear your prop bets for tonight.
Yes. All right. So we'll start off with kind of my favorite prop bet of the night, which is Jaylen Brown under 24.5 points, minus 125. And I'm doing this just because for a couple of reasons. One, there's like the side chair, the armchair psychologist aspect of it, where I'm like, okay, well, the Celtics haven't been here before. They're not that experienced. They might get a little bit nervous in game 1. So there's that aspect. But also, if you just look at the numbers, Jaylen has missed this line in 13 of the Celtics' 18 playoff games. He's, outside of like one good game last series from 3, he struggled a lot from downtown. And on top of that, like, the Warriors are getting defenders back. Gary Payton should be available tonight to throw out in spurts. Andre Iguodala may be available. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know that Gary Payton is available to do it. And whoever the Warriors throw on Jaylen Brown, they're going to be able to make him work. And we saw a lot last series what Victor Oladipo was able to do, and he was able to rip Jaylen Brown all day, every day. And so I think that Brown is one. This is a high number, and the Warriors have the defensive personnel to go out and stop him and force him to be a jump shooter, which he's shown kind of for the last 2 rounds that he's not a consistent jump shooter. And so unless he comes out and is just a flamethrower, if this is a normal Jaylen Brown type of game, it's going to fall under 24.5. And then my second one of the night, we're going to go under Marcus Smart, 14.5 points, -115.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, and I know you have a little bit of love for Marcus Smart, defensive player of the year, all that good stuff. But as a scorer, I'm not very confident in him coming into tonight. His ankle or his foot, whatever is his, lower leg injury that he has, because it kind of goes back and forth. Whatever that is, it is clearly a problem, and he has not shot well since game 2 of the Heat series. His 3-point percentage has gone down in nearly every single game. He was 3 of 10 in game 7, right? 30%. And he was getting wide open shots. The Warriors are going to let him shoot, but Smart is going to have to prove that he's a good shooter. And so I don't think that he's going to be able to have, a big game unless, and it's on the same thing as Jaylen Brown, unless he comes out and he becomes a flamethrower, which he has proven over and over, not only this playoffs, but in his entire career that he is not. Then I'm taking the under, and I just don't think that there's going to be a lot of points to go around. I also think that this game is going to be a very low scoring one. What do you think about that one?
I disagree about that one.
Why?
Just because it's volume. He shoots a lot. I mean, when he plays, he shoots a lot. We know I'm not an NBA guy, so I don't have a ton to say about him. But actually, I do have a little bit more to say about him. But that's going to be in the next segment. So, but because of the next segment and little tease, I don't like that because I need him to play well this series. But go ahead with your third one.
Okay. And then my third pick on this one, I'm taking Andrew Wiggins 2+ threes, -110 on this one. And so exactly what you just said about Marcus Smart, and taking everything that I just said about Marcus Smart in terms of not shooting well over the last 3 games. Andrew Wiggins has kind of gone through the same thing, but he has the volume. I just trust Andrew Wiggins tonight over Marcus Smart to get to this line, to become a shooter. And it's because the volume is there. So like Wiggins has shot 15 threes in the last 3 games. He had a really good rhythm at the start of the Mavs series. He was hitting 3 threes a night. I think in each one of the first 3 games of the Mavs series. And one of Boston's strengths that they will be able to have over Golden State is their length and their defensive versatility, and they can switch everything. And so I'm not sure that there's going to be as many opportunities for Wiggins to just drive clear to the basket as there were in the Dallas series. And so I think that that's going to force him to stay out on the perimeter, maybe take a couple, last second shot clock threes. But to get to 2, when I know that he's taken, 5 to 7 every single night, I really like the volume here, and I think that he's going to get a couple opportunities, especially if we see Boston sell out early to stop Steph and to stop Clay, then Wiggins will be the main beneficiary of all of that.
I'm an Andrew Wiggins fan, so I will not disagree with this pick. I like this one. Anytime you want to bet on Andrew Wiggins, I'm with you.
Listen. I understand the Canada connection. Maple Jordan is what they did. Okay, so like I know you probably weren't tapped into the high school basketball scene in Canada, but like, was that how much of an actual thing? Like, was that? Do you remember hearing about Andrew Wiggins coming up?
Not in high school. No, obviously when he got drafted, it was a big deal. Not in high school though. No.
Okay.
Basketball, especially high school basketball and college basketball, is big in Ontario, and that's not where I grew up on the East Coast, where like basketball's not that big. It's all hockey is the East Coast,
Yeah.
but all the good basketball players come from Ontario. So I wasn't as tapped into basketball back then, but obviously when he was drafted, he was big news for sure.
Well, listen, they have brought out the Maple Jordan nickname again. I've heard it multiple times over the last, 2 weeks in the Western Conference Finals. I'm going to need Andrew Wiggins to turn into the Maple Jordan tonight, start knocking down these threes, and I think that he can do it.
I like it. All right, let's recap our picks. We got a little, look at the little scrolling thing on the bottom. That's fancy. Here's a little recap of our picks here. I'm going over 7 in the Oilers Avalanche game 2. Marlins minus 138 and Cubs minus 103 for little Major League Baseball action. Donnavan, you got under 24.5 points for Jaylen Brown, under 14.5 points for Marcus Smart, and 2+ threes for Andrew Wiggins. All right.
Yeah. Listen.
You're fading Boston. I am starting to have an inkling of what your picked, what your spread pick is going to be later on in the show.
Surprise.
But before we get into that, we're going to talk a little NBA Finals MVP action. Donnavan, I'll give you a little break from talking. I'll give out my pick because it is a little bit related to one of your prop bets, which I was alluding to. My pick to an NBA Finals MVP. Listen, I could give you Jason Tatum. I could give you Steph Curry. I'm not going to do that, though. I will give a long shot, Marcus Smart, 20-1 to win NBA Finals MVP. Once again, every time I talk NBA and I give out a pick, I need to have the caveat of I'm not an NBA guy. But I looked up a couple of reasons, and I mean, it does kind of make sense. If the Celtics win the series, shutting down Steph Curry is going to be obviously a big part of the Celtics game plan, and it's something that they'll have to do. Matt DeSaro wrote over on BetSided today an article called Fade Steph Curry's Points Prop in Game 1 with Marcus Smart defending him, and he cited Steph Curry's statistics over the past 5 seasons when being defended by Marcus Smart. 37% from the field his shooting, only 30% from 3, only 3 assists and 7 turnovers. So Marcus Smart has done a fantastic job defending Steph Curry over the past few years. If he can shut down Steph Curry again, that's going to help his resume, his argument to win NBA Finals MVP. And if it's going to be a defensive battle this series, which a lot of people are expecting because these are the 2 best defensive teams in the NBA, then why not give the NBA Finals MVP award to the Defensive Player of the Year in Marcus Smart? So listen, is it the most likely option? No, but at 20-1, I think it's worth a little sprinkle. And that is why I don't like your under 14.5 points for Marcus Smart tonight, because if he scores under 14.5 points, as much as I like him on defense, obviously, to win the award, he needs to score some points. Under 14.5 points is not going to win him NBA Finals MVP. So that is why I had to disagree with the pick. I'm a big Marcus Smart fan in this series.
That's tough. That's really tough because listen, his last 3 games, he's gone 8 for 22, 4 for 15, and 1 for 5 from 3. And 1 for 5 just overall. Marcus Smart in the last 3 games, especially if he is injured, he is not going to be an offensive threat. Now, I'll give you credit. He's going to have every opportunity to be an offensive threat. The Warriors are going to let him shoot. And they are going to say, listen, if Marcus Smart is going to be the one to have a 35-point game and hit 5 threes in a game, by all means, go ahead and do that. And they would much rather, or I guess not much rather, but they will be able to live with Marcus Smart, being a 3-point shooter for 2 weeks rather than Jason Tatum just going and getting whatever he wants. So the volume on offense for the series, it makes sense. However, he has not looked good, so I will tell you to be wary of that one. But somebody who has looked good over the last 2 weeks and who is the rightful favorite, nearly minus, right? Even money for this person, and that's Steph Curry to win Finals MVP. I'm very, very excited to watch Steph Curry in the finals tonight. And I think that he's going to finally get the elusive Finals MVP that everybody says that he needs on his resume, even though that he is so great that he does not need it. And everybody understands that he was robbed in 2015. However, I think that he's going to get it because a couple of things. One, everything that the Warriors do revolves around Steph Curry, whether he has the ball or he doesn't. If we're talking about off-ball action, screens, anything that the Warriors want to do on offense, it has to go through Steph Curry. And I think that the writers are starting to understand that. And so that's one. Two, nobody else on the Warriors can create their own shot the way that Steph Curry can and still be decent on defense, right? So Jordan Poole can do that, but he's a liability on defense. Andrew Wiggins can do it a little bit. Klay Thompson has just decided that he's like Klay Thompson has been in the gym for the last 2 years working on everything. So he's like, I haven't played in 2 years. I'm just going to take everything that I want to. But there's not going to be anybody who's as consistent as Steph Curry. And it's chalk. Like, he's the favorite out of everybody. Everybody kind of thinks that the Warriors are going to win. But I really think that this is the time that everybody understands that Steph Curry deserves to be Finals MVP, and he will shine above every other star on this stage and finally get the last missing piece to his illustrious resume.
Do you think there's a little bit that'll play a role in this, like Leonardo DiCaprio winning an Oscar, never winning one, and then that role in The Revenant, and it was like, it wasn't his best movie, but he kind of deserves an Oscar, so we're just going to give him one at this point. Do you think that's kind of the case a little bit with Steph Curry, where he doesn't even need to have like the best finals of his career, but there'll be kind of that thing in the back of voters' heads where they think, oh, Steph Curry hasn't won a Finals MVP yet. Maybe he didn't have his best performance here, but he just kind of deserves one, so we're going to give it to him. Do you think that plays a role into it at all?
Maybe, but that's only if it's close. That's on like if Jordan Poole comes out and Jordan Poole averages, like if anybody else on the Warriors averages 20 plus points, like 22 points in this series, then I think that might be the differentiator. But I think that it's very clear in terms of tiers of players that it's Steph and then the rest of the Warriors offensively. And so I don't know. I don't think it's going to get to that point where that actually becomes like a real factor.
Interesting. That was something I did think about. And I think obviously if you think the Warriors are going to win the finals, but you want a little bit better value, then I think betting on Steph Curry to win Finals MVP is probably the way to go, right? Because like you said, I mean, if the Warriors win, he's likely going to win the award. If you don't want to lay the, minus 160 juice on the Warriors to win the finals, and if you want a little bit more bang for your buck, just bet Steph Curry to win Finals MVP.
Yeah, and especially because in the Western Conference Finals, that was a situation that you're talking about right now, where Steph didn't have a fantastic Western Conference Finals. Like the closeout game, he twisted his ankle early. He came back. He didn't shoot well. Game 1 of the series, he didn't shoot particularly well. And you could have made an argument in the first 2 games that Kevon Looney should have been, Western Conference Finals MVP. Andrew Wiggins was fantastic all series long. And so there's spurts where you kind of say, do you want to give it to this person? Do you want to give it to this person? But at the end of the day, everybody understands everything starts and stops with 30. And so he's going to be the one that gets the award.
Ben Heisler chimed in. Where's that WNBA action, Donnavan? We got to stay hot. No WNBA picks for me, Donnavan. Thoughts on that?
My thoughts is that Ben, and I told Ben this last time, Ben is carrying the team on WNBA picks. Ben had a 4-0 day, I think like two nights ago. Last night he hit again. And so I have not been fantastic on my WNBA picks. I may need a day off, reset, get my mind right, come back into the game. But right now, Ben is the one that's like I'm in his backpack right now. I'm on his back. He's taking us to the promised land. So, but I got Ben. I got you next time.
All right. So if anyone's watching wants WNBA picks, follow Ben. He has been hot. I have seen that. Unfortunately, not a sport that I've bet on before. I mean, I'm not an NBA guy, so I'm probably not going to be a WNBA guy either. Maybe I'll start to tail Ben though with his picks because he seems to be pretty good with it. Let's get back to the NBA Finals though. Let's dive into this game a little bit deeper. You've given out props. You've given out NBA Finals MVP picks. Let's give out our picks for each side or total. Spoiler alert, we're going side though. I'll go with my pick first. I'm going to go Celtics plus 3.5. I'll take the points here. I'm a little bit of a coward, not going to take money line, but I'm on the Celtics to win the series. I'm on them to win game one. I think they just match up really well with the Warriors statistically. Once again, I got to say this caveat all the time. I'm not an NBA guy. I've not watched it, but I can still look at analytics. I still understand basketball. I still, I bet on college basketball quite a bit. So I know the sport. I know you got to put the basket into the hoop to score points. Right? Am I correct in that?
You have to put the ball into the hoop. You said I have to put the basket into the hoop, which is kind of redundant.
Got to put the ball into the basket or hoop to score points, and that is eventually how you win the game.
That's the ultimate caveat. If you just play that clip of you saying you have to put the basketball into the hoop, you kind of understand where you're coming from on your hashtag not an NBA guy.
But yes, I'm going to take the Celtics. Main reason why 38.2% of the points the Warriors score, and we all know this, comes from three-point land. That was tied with the Timberwolves for the highest percentage in the NBA this year. Well, what team had the best perimeter defense? The Boston Celtics. It's the same reason why I'm betting on Marcus Smart to win Finals MVP. Their perimeter defense is fantastic. Teams only shot 33.5% from three-point land against them this season. And also one sneaky thing that I have not seen as cars honk outside my window, that they must agree with me, that no one really has been talking about this, or at least that I've seen. The Warriors turn the ball over a lot. Second highest turnover rate when it comes to turnovers per possession in the NBA this year. That's not going to be good if you're playing against a team that's as good defensively as the Boston Celtics. So I'm going to take the Celtics to cover in game one. I'm going to take them to win the series. Go Boston, go, which makes me feel sick to say because I hate Boston sports teams. They've won enough championships, but I think it's the right bet.
Okay. I will tell you why that is the wrong bet.
All right.
One, the turnovers is a real thing. And that has been the Warriors' Achilles heel this entire run. Before they had KD, when they got KD, even now, everything is settled down. Their style of play and kind of like the creativity and the confidence that everybody has in themselves that they can, make any play on the floor, kind of lends itself to them turning the ball over a lot. And I want to say this before I get into my pick. One, I can see the series going either way. Both of these teams seem so just like perfectly matched up to beat the strengths of the other, and they just complement each other so well. So I'll see that. However, this is the Warriors series. Now that we have all that, like, oh yeah, I'm smart. I know the game is gonna be even. Bump all that. This is the Warriors series, and this is game one. The Warriors are back in the finals after a 2-year absence. They have 123 finals games over the Celtics in terms of experience on the roster right now. The Celtics are coming off of one of the most physical playoff series of the year. Marcus Smart is banged up. Robert Williams is banged up. And if those two guys cannot go at full strength, then the defensive rotations and the outlook of how Boston plays defense will be completely different. I think that's one. Two, I've already said in my props earlier, and you said you could kind of see the way that I was going. Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, I do not predict them to have great games tonight. I think that the shooting will be an issue for them. And we've seen all throughout the playoffs that the Celtics, outside of, a couple legacy games, if you will, a game 7 for Grant Williams, a 4-for-4 starting out game for Jaylen Brown from 3. The 3-point shooting hasn't necessarily been there. And if you're going to get into, a defensive battle, you're going to need to make up offense somewhere. And if those threes are not falling, then I'm not sure that Boston will be able to keep up, at least not in game one. And finally, Boston also has turnover issues. And we saw in game 7, they had a 13-point lead over the Heat with 3 minutes and some change left. And the decision-making and the turnovers that they have, which they have done all season long, nearly cost them this same trip to the NBA Finals. So I think that in game 1 of the finals, a lot of that will still carry over. I think that the Warriors' experience and cachet will rise to the occasion, and they will win by at least 2 possessions tonight.
I will say one thing about the Warriors I don't think you mentioned. 21-2 or 22-2 in game 1s under Steve Kerr.
Yes, yeah. The only ones that they've lost were Game 1 of the 2019 Finals to the Raptors and Game
Fake
2.
championship, though, right?
I mean, it's not fake. It's not a fake championship, but it's not like an all-timer, like, wow, like, look at that championship. They lost Game 1 in 2019, then they lost Game 1 in the Western Conference Finals to the Thunder in 2016. But outside of that, they've been fantastic in game ones. They are undefeated at home this postseason, which is something that is very shocking. That if Chase Center can be an actual home court advantage, this is a really big deal. But the Celtics also have 7 road wins this
Right.
postseason, which right now is tied for second most. I think if they win 2 more and they get to 9, that'll be tied for the record in a single postseason. But the Warriors, everything on paper for game 1 looks like it's going to go their way and that they will be the ones dictating the action and Boston will be the ones reacting. And I think that if you have Steph Curry and the Warriors in the driver's seat, they are very, very good at being out front and making sure that everything goes their way. So I will take the Warriors tonight.
Do you have any feel on the total at all? Obviously, both our picks were on the spread. Do you have any feel on the total over or under at all in this game?
Yeah, I'm taking the under. The total's been rising. So our guy Peter, he wrote the opening odds story for game 1, and the total opened up at 211. It's now 213 and a half, and I think that that's really, really interesting considering that the defense for both of these teams is fantastic, and you have a Boston team that is going to be anchored by its defense, and you have a Warriors team that, and everybody, it's gotten to the point where everybody says it, so it's not necessarily true anymore. And people have been saying, "Oh, the Warriors defense, it's underrated. It's underrated." It's not properly rated. We kind of all understand the things that they can do defensively, but I think that at 213, it 213 and a half, that's kind of a little high. And so I would be siding towards the under, especially if we get a little bit of nerves from the Celtics early on, So I think as the total rises, just I would not be scared to take the under.
All right, I like it. Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. The last thing we got to get to is the community pick. We put out a poll on Twitter, which closed in a tie between the Celtics and the Warriors. So I think we had to default to the YouTube poll, and it is the Celtics. The community is on my side. Celtics plus 3.5. I will be doubling up my bet on them. Go Boston, go. I'm happy to have the community on my side. I thought it was very interesting that it was a complete tie on Twitter. Some people did like the over, though. Not as many votes, obviously, on the over-under as the spread, but 16.2% of votes on the over, 8.1% on the under. So the community likes the over. They like the Celtics. It's you against the world, Donnavan.
Listen, what's new? I'll take it on. But also the fact that you're going for Boston is disgusting. I
feel gross about it, to be honest.
It's awful. And for the Celtics, like I'll try to listen. I will try and look at each game objectively and try to do my best. But I do not mess with the Boston Celtics as a staff, crew, or record label. I do not like the franchise. And so I hope that they lose the series in 4 and that all the Boston fans have to just go back and cry for another year about how they don't have a championship. That's all I want.
A city that's won like 12 championships as a whole in my lifetime, and me and my teams have won a total of 0. Like, I have no sympathy for Boston fans whatsoever, but I really don't have sympathy for Golden State fans either. They've had how many championships they have? 2 or 3?
They have 3. They have 3. They have 3 since 2015. So 3 in the last 7 years. However, they listen, those old Warrior fans deserve it. Now the new ones, the ones who are in the Chase Center, I'm not sure. But the old Warriors fans, they deserve it.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Steph Curry will win Finals MVP, and we will finally be able to admit that Steph Curry is better than Kevin Durant all time. and that Kevin Durant benefited from Steph Curry.
All right. Let's finish up with the question that everyone has on their mind. LeBron James or Michael Jordan? I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking. It's classic.
Let's do it.
It's only been debated almost, on a weekly basis for the past 20 years. I think we really need to dive into that question a little bit more.
I know. I think I really have some insights that nobody's ever talked about.
Yeah, so. Right. Exactly. All right, everyone. That's our show. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Tomorrow is we have in our notes it's myself and Reed, but I'm off tomorrow, so it won't be me. I think Donnavan, it might be you and Reed.
It's me. It's myself and Reed, and we will be back here recapping Game 1 of the finals. Looking forward a little bit. We'll probably have some French Open talk as well. It's going to be a very, very fun show tomorrow with Reed and myself.
What schedule is it alternating days for the NBA finals? Is it just every second night?
No. So Game 1 is tonight. Game 2 will be on Sunday. And so on Sunday, to preview it, it will be Reed and Peter.
Or it might be me and Peter, because I think I work Sunday.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have the schedule in front of me. Someone will be talking about it. But yes, thanks for everyone for watching. Best of luck with your picks, and we'll talk to you next time.